Okay, in this video, we are going to discuss about the stack design. So basically what we are going to learn in this video is how exception handlers are going to make extensive use of stacks. We already know that whatever the mode that we have, that is basically you have IRQ mode, you have FIQ mode, you have SVC supervisor mode. All these modes, they have their own stack pointer. Okay, the stack pointer, the register that is R13. For example, what we R13 underscore IRQ you have for the IRQ mode, and for the FIQ mode you have R13 underscore FIQ mode, and for SVC you have R13 underscore SVC. So all these basically they are the stack pointer, and these all registers they contain the uh, they hold the stack pointer, isn't it? So basically, whatever the modes that we have, so each mode you have one stack pointer, and the stack pointer is indicated by the register that is R13. So basically, what we are going to discuss in this video is how the design of the exception stack that depends upon, because see basically any of the stack where you want to put the stack, that is what we are going to discuss in this video, because whatever the modes that we have, of course the stack pointer is there, but where it is going to point to, what memory location, where you are going to put the stack in the memory location. As I have just drawn here, these are the basically two typical memory layouts you have it. So the first, okay, before actually I go and discuss about this, these two typical memory layouts. So first, let me actually discuss about this. What are the main two decisions, the design decisions, which need to be taken for the for putting the stack in the for allocating the stack in the memory in memory. Okay. So what are those two design decisions that you have to take it? Okay. So of course you can put this stack in anywhere in the memory location. As you can just see here, it is 0x8 zeros, and the maximum that you can have is 0x8fs. Okay. So this is the maximum that you can have it here. Anywhere you can put up stack, but that is not followed. You have two types of memory layouts. Okay, as I said earlier, before we go for that one, so let me actually take out two major design decisions that are taken for the stacks. The first one that is taken is location. Okay, so what is this location that is there? See, the location determines where in the memory map the stack begins. Okay, so let me actually write it here. So where in the memory map okay the stack begins. Okay, means where in the memory map, whether it somewhat actually, for example, this one, the user stack, the interrupt stack. So majorly the interrupt stack, we're going to discuss about that one. As we know, what is basically the interrupt? Interrupt is something actually which disturbs the normal flow of the execution of the program, and the program changes the address depending on what kind of modes you have, depending on what kind of interrupts you have. Will correspond to that interrupt, it will go for that respective mode, and there it executes respective exception handler, or we also call it as interrupt handler. Of course, from the interrupt handler you go for the interrupt service routine. Those all things we have already discussed. Now of course we are going to, if I say this stack, we will basically stick to this interrupt stack itself, though I have written the user stack also here, but we will not actually deal with the user stack here. See, user stack is something actually the normal execution of the program. So whatever the user mode you have it, so basically when it is running that one, that is what we say user stack here. So of course interrupt stack. So whenever basically why do we need the stack? Stack is something actually you want to push the contents. Whenever actually see, it is like as I said earlier, interrupt is something actually which disturbs the normal execution of the program. Whenever you are studying for the examination, you get disturbed. Then what you do actually, you go for the whenever you get a call, you answer, you have to answer that call. Whenever you want to answer the call, after you answer the call, you know that actually from which topic you are studying, or which lecture notes of that particular topic that you were studying before you were interrupted. But how does the processor remember? Processor remembers actually by pushing the content onto the stack before when it was interrupted. That is what we have discussed, the push and the pop. Push actually push the register contents onto the stack when you are interrupted. After you service the interrupt, and that is done in the interrupt handler. Okay, so you return back, and then you pop the content from the stack, isn't it? So stack is basically you pushing and the popping the content from the stack. Okay, pushing whenever some interrupt occurs. Whenever some interrupt occurs, you push the content onto the stack. Popping, you want to exit from the interrupt, so you just return the values, return the content from the stack. So pushing the register contents onto the stack, popping the register contents onto the stack. So that is what you do it here. So obviously, where you want to push, that is what we were discussing about the location, isn't it? So where in the memory map the stack begins, whether the interrupt stack begins after the vector table or before the code, okay, or the interrupt stack, that is, if you just look into this memory layout, where the interrupt stack is beginning at the higher memory address, because what is this memory address that you have? This is 0x80s, and this will be 0x8fs, isn't it? So this is the higher memory address, and in this case actually you have put the interrupt stack at the higher memory address, whereas in this case actually you have put the interrupt stack at the lower memory address. Maybe this vector table, whatever that is, maybe it is 1C or somewhere it is, okay. After that one actually the interrupt stack begins, whereas in this case the interrupt stack is there at the higher memory address. This is higher memory address and this is lower memory address. So where in the memory map the stack begins, and that is what you say the location. Okay, so hope you got this one. What you mean by location means where you want to put this stack. So in that memory location, from whatever the 4 GB memory location that you have, basically 32-bit address 2 raised to 32, you get this 4 GB. In this 4 GB memory location, where you want to put this stack. Usually these are the two memory layouts that are followed. Maybe after the vector table the interrupt stack is put, or at the top of the address only you put the interrupt stack. Okay, so these two memory layouts means of course the location varies. So location basically determines where in the memory map the stack begins. That is what you do it here. Of course, one thing what you have to understand, be it you put the interrupt stack above the vector table, or you put the interrupt stack just actually above the user stack. One thing what you have to understand is that the interrupt stack is the address is always descending. That is what is indicated by this arrow. As you can just observe here, okay, so here you have the downward arrow, so which indicates the address is descending, okay, the descending downwards. That is what we say, okay. So location basically determines where in the memory map you want to put the stack, okay. The second point that you have is stack size. So basically what this stack size is, stack size depends upon the type of handler, okay. What are the two types of handler that we can have? One is nested handler, another one is non-nested, okay. Non-nested is similar to, okay, nested is similar to if else. In this if else, again another if, so it goes on like that way, okay. So nested if, I think if all of you are aware of this one in your C programming, you might have studied about this nested if, okay. It is similar to that one. Before one if you close that one, you have another if statement within the if, the first if, okay. So that is what you have. So nested handler, and the one is non-nested handler, okay. So why this stack size depends on the type of handler? See, the nested interrupt handler, obviously it takes more memory space, means you need to allocate more memory space for this stack, okay. So nested interrupt handler requires more memory space. Why does it require more memory space? Because we know that in nested interrupt handler there is a continuous interrupt you are going to service. So all those interrupts you have to put inside the stack, because in the nested if statements, it is not like only one if statement that you have. You have many if statements within the one if statement. So if you have like that way, so all those statements have to be completed. So that is why in the nested interrupt handler, you need to have the more memory space. because when you have the more memory space, you can actually you make use of many interrupts. You can service many interrupts. Whereas non-nested means you're going to handle, of course, we're going to discuss more in detail with respect to nested and the non-nested interrupt handler. But one thing what you have to understand from this one is non-nested interrupt handler, you're going to handle only one single interrupt. So let me erase this one. Yeah. So here, in the case of actually nested interrupt handler, okay, you are going to handle many interrupts. You will allow that one. Many interrupts are allowed. Means it's not only one single interrupt you're going to service. You're going to service many interrupts. Before you see, one interrupt you are going to service, one interrupt you are servicing, another interrupt, first interrupt, let me say first interrupt I1. Another interrupt comes and interrupts the processor before the completion of this interrupt. That is what we say nested interrupt, isn't it? So in this case actually, before the completion of servicing the first interrupt, another interrupt comes I2, and that interrupt will also be allowed by the processor. Okay, and when this interrupt before the completion of this one, another interrupt comes, and this interrupt will also be allowed by the processor to interrupt, and then this interrupt will be taken after servicing, completing this one, it returns back, then this is service, then returns back, then this is service. So all these three interrupts are going to be handled. So that's why you require more memory location for the stack. Okay, so that's why what type of interrupt handler you have, that decides whether you are whether like a small amount of stack size is enough or you require more amount of stack size. Whereas with respect to non-nested interrupt handler, as I said earlier, let me erase. Okay, so whereas non-nested interrupt handler, non-nested, there is only one single interrupt you are going to deal with. Only one single interrupt. Since you are going to deal with only one single interrupt, you don't have to worry about the stacks, whatever the single interrupt requires, because you are going to push the register contents onto the stack and pop the register contents from the stack. Since you are going to pop the register contents from the stack, so the stack will be again freed. So for single interrupt you are handling in the case of non-nested interrupt handler, you don't require that much memory space what you require for the single interrupt handler. That is why in the case of non-nested interrupt handler, the memory space that you require is small, okay, and definitely lesser than nested interrupt handler. Because nested interrupt handler, it's not only one single interrupt you're going to handle, you're going to handle many interrupts. So all those require memory location. It requires more memory space. Because you have to push many register contents onto the stack, you pop the register contents onto the stack. So that's why it requires some more memory space. Whereas in the case of non-nested, only single interrupt, so definitely you don't require that much memory space. So that is what with respect to the two design decisions which have to be made for the stacks. What are the two decisions? First decision is the location, and second one is stack size. Okay, so okay, then what are the two okay, let me actually discuss about this memory layout. This is very simple that you have it here. Okay, so what so of course if you just look into this memory layout, so you can actually of course there is one more word what we say, stack overflow. Okay, stack overflow. So this means whatever the memory location that you have allotted, okay, this is the memory location that you have allotted, you push the register contents or any other contents that onto the stack. Okay, when that memory is full, so where do you push the another content onto the stack, or when the interrupt handler is going to execute certain instructions where it may require some register contents to put into the stack. If the stack is full, then it overflows, and this will result in what do we say, the memory corruption. Okay, stack overflow will result in memory corruption. Means it's an overflow, because whatever the memory space that you have allotted, you just assume that actually for single interrupt handler, maybe for the non-nested interrupt handler, this much amount of memory space is required. But unfortunately, actually, that memory space that you had allotted, it was not sufficient. So then it results in the stack overflow. And the stack overflow will result in memory corruption, because it is going to enter into the next Okay, as you can see, interrupt stack, when it is over, it is going to enter into the vector table. So that will corrupt whatever the address that you have it here. For example, in this case, actually interrupt stack, it may corrupt the user stack here. So these kind of things which you can have it whenever the stack overflow occurs. So of course, one thing what you have to understand is that this stack overflow, before like stack, whenever stack overflow occurs, you need to bear in mind that how much space you have to allocate. Okay, if you are not aware of that one, how much space you have to allocate, then it is very wrongful. Okay, so that is what you mean by stack overflow. Stack overflow will result in the memory corruption. Okay, so let us discuss about the two memory layouts that you have it here. Okay, so what are the two? Okay, these are the two typical memory layouts you have it here. The first layout, of course, what has been indicated this one A, and the second layout is what has been indicated in the B. In the first layout, what happens? It's of course a very traditional stack layout with the interrupt stack. Okay, with the interrupt stack stored underneath the. Okay, stored underneath the code segment. Here you have it. Okay, this is an interrupt stack which is stored underneath the code segment. Here I might have written any of the code. Okay, so this is the first memory layout that you have. In this case, the interrupt stack is stored underneath the code segment, and the second layout B, okay, that you have it here. Okay, let me. This is the second layout that you have. In this case, what do we have here? As you can just observe here, this one, the interrupt stack here. The interrupt stack is where is this interrupt stack put? The interrupt stack is put at the top of the memory above the user stack. Okay, so in this case, actually, what you have, the interrupt stack is stored below the code segment. Okay, so if this is the code segment, whatever the code that you might have written here, this interrupt stack is stored below the code segment. Here in this case, the interrupt stack is stored above the user stack. As you can observe here, this is interrupt stack is stored somewhere in the lower memory addresses, whereas here the interrupt stack is stored in the higher memory addresses, isn't it? It is stored above the user stack. Of course, these are the two typical memory layouts that people use whenever they want to put the interrupt stack. As you can observe here, there is one thing that you can observe. Of course, user stack is whenever the program is in the user mode, the stack that you have, that is user stack here. Both actually you require some contents that need to be stored, and that way you have the user stack and the interrupt stack here. But what is this? And also observe this one. And here you have in the both the user stack as well as the interrupt stack, the address is descending. Okay, so that is basically it always follows the last in first out strategy. Means whatever the content you push in first, okay, that will be taken last, or whatever the content that you push in last, that will be taken first out. It's the same as FILO. This is last in first out, this one is first in last out. Means if I have to say, what do you mean by that one is in the stack, it always follows like if I push R1, push R2, okay, I am pushing R1 and the R2 content onto the stack. If you want to pop in, you should always pop the R2, and after that one you have to pop R1. Okay, it's not like you push, if you write push R1, the push R2, and if you write this one R1 and this instead of R2 you write it as R1, and instead of R1 you write it as R2 here. It's pop R1 the R2 because you have pushed R1 the R2. This is what happens. It is first in first out, because first in you're first outputting. Okay, but this is wrong here. This is not the way stack is arranged. So it's always the first in last out or last in first out. Okay, this is both are same here. So because whatever the first in, you can just observe here. So what should be written here is, this is push R1, push R2. So this one should be pop R2, pop R1, because what has first gone in, it is going to come last out. Okay, that is what first in last out scheme that we say. Okay, so both cases actually you can just observe here, the address is descending in the both user stack as well as the interrupt stack. Then what do you have this? Of course, this is the code that you're going to write. Of course, this is the vector table. Whatever the hexadecimal code that for the ARM instruction 32-bit hexadecimal code, those are all put up in this code segment. And this is vector table. Vector table already we have discussed. It consists of the address for the interrupt handler, the exception handler. Then what is this heap that you have? Okay, heap is basically, okay, let me discuss. Heap is it is similar to stack only, but heap is more of let me write two differences. Okay, so heap is more of during the program execution. Okay, so during the program execution, whatever the contents that you want to push onto the stack, those things are pushed. I mean, that what we call it as heap. Okay, they are pushed up in the heap. Means this is basically a dynamic memory allocation. Heap is more of a dynamic memory allocation, because whenever the program, the instructions are getting executed, at that time you assign the memory. That is what heap is, whereas stack is more of a static memory allocation. Okay, so this is before the program execution, the user knows what all rest of contents he is going to put into the stack. So before program execution, this is what we say stack. Okay, as you can just observe here, this is a dynamic memory allocation for the heap, static memory allocation for the stack, and heap is more of during program execution. Whenever the instructions are getting executed, at that time actually, because user doesn't know, the processor understands some contents, the immediate values they have to put up in the stacks for some calculation needs. So various other things actually, whatever the need arises, that is what we say dynamic. Those things are put up in the memory location. That memory location we call it as heap. Whereas this is before program execution, the programmer knows what all content he needs in. That is what we say this one as stack here, interrupt stack as well as the user stack here. And one more thing what you have to understand here is that okay, so let me write it here. Okay, one more difference that you have in the heap. In the heap, basically, is you can just observe here, it's an ascending memory address. Okay, that is how you have it, ascending memory address. Whereas in stack, you have descending memory address. Just observe here, descending in the both user stack as well as the interrupt stack, you have this downward arrow, isn't it? Whereas in this case of heap, you have the upward arrow. So it's ascending memory address, this one is descending memory address. So that is what with respect to heap and the stack differences. Not to be worried too much regarding this one. Okay, then which one is more advantageous among these two, whether it is this memory layout A or the memory layout B? Which among these two is more advantageous? See, of course, let me actually discuss about that one. As we said here, the interrupt stack is arranged beneath the code segment, whereas here the interrupt stack is arranged at the top of the memory addresses. Okay, so of course the one advantage that layout B has over A is that the B doesn't corrupt the vector table, and that is very important. So B definitely has one big advantage. Okay, so as I said, the advantage is that, see here in this case actually interrupt stack is put up above the vector table, just above the vector table. Okay, but interrupt stack is not put up above the vector table. And whenever actually stack overflow occurs, as I said, stack overflow will result in memory corruption. What happens when it results in memory corruption? Means whatever the contents that you have it in this memory, that gets changed. When that gets changed, your system will not work properly. Why shouldn't vector table be changed here? What does vector table consist of? Vector table consists of the branch addresses, the branch instruction addresses. Let me say the branch instruction address, either through branch link or the load instruction that we have already discussed. So branch instruction addresses. Branch instruction addresses to which one? To the interrupt handler. So branch instruction addresses to the interrupt handler, various modes, be it the IRQ, be it the FIQ, be it the reset, be it the supervisor mode. So all these actually, whatever the different modes that we have discussed already, so those modes, exception modes, if it has to enter, the the address where it wants to branch, that instruction is stored in the vector table, isn't it? So that vector table, if it gets corrupted when that exception is raised, it will not branch to the corresponding interrupt handler, and that interrupt will not be serviced properly. That is why this B memory layout is usually preferred. Okay, so because here, if you can just observe here, the interrupt stack is this whenever the overflow occurs, stack overflow, it enters into the vector table. This vector table memory can get corrupted. Whereas in this case, the interrupt stack, it will actually, even the overflow occurs, stack overflow. What is stack overflow? Stack overflow means it crossing the memory space that you have allotted. So whenever the memory overflow occurs in this B type of memory layout, it enters into the user stack here. This is fine, user stack. We are not worried about that one. Of course, memory corruption occurs here also, but that will not actually raise that much alarm what this memory layout can raise when stack overflow occurs in this memory A layout. So that is one advantage what you have with respect to the memory B layout. Okay, so this is definitely an advantage that you have, this type of memory layout. Okay, so this is what I wanted to discuss about the stack design. So I hope everyone understood this purpose, like why we actually go with the two typical memory layouts, what is the need, what are the two design decisions one takes it for the stack, like location, where he wants to put up the stack, or the stack size, like stack size depends on the nested and the non-nested. So these all things one has to take it, or a programmer has to take it when he wants to write the program, so that or when he wants to dedicate certain memory location for the stack. Okay, so hope all of you understood this one. Fine, thank you.